Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody is good out there, and I hope I am audible to everybody now. I welcome and appreciate all of you for joining this conference. In this conference, we are going to talk about the examination becoming big challenge in this pandemic. So we have a global speakers with us who will be sharing their thoughts and giving us more knowledge about this topic. Moving on to the next slide. Um, Let me first discuss and talk about the mElimu. mElimu is a leading LMS provider providing fully automated solution for online exam platform that enable colleges, universities, and K-12 to take AI proctored online exam at any time of the day or night without pre-scheduling. Also, students use a webcam to proctor themselves during an exam. mElimu has successfully established its presence in e-learning industry with its uniqueness and advanced features. And within Africa, now we are moving towards the India also and rest part of the Africa. And yeah, talking about the global presence, mElimu has global presence in all of the Africa. We have our partners and clients all over the Africa, Nigeria, Egypt, Zambia, Namibia, South Africa, Botswana, Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan, Senegal, and beyond, and many more. Moving on to the next slide. Today, the sponsor of our webinars are the Mumbai universities, the GCP Digital South Africa, Future Educational System, and Jihan Microfinance Limited. Yes, move to the next slide, please. Our speakers are Llewellyn. He is an executive director in Genesis Community IT Initiative, presented in South Africa. Then we have Dr. Akorfa. She is a managing director at Jihan Integrated IT Transport Services. Then we have Sarah Alcala. She is a deputy chief executive officer at Future Educational Systems. Then we have Dr. John. He is a AG Deputy Vice Chancellor in Management University of Africa, Goma, in Kenya. Then we have Mr. Kamal. He is a General Manager at mElimu. Mr. Kamal will also discuss and wants to give more brief about each speaker.
Thanks, Chandra. Thanks for introducing all the people. Really appreciate, first of all of the participants and our speakers for joining today this webinar. Really appreciate all of you. Again, we connected talking about a very big challenge that right now all the institutions are facing in this pandemic. And I think today we have a lot of new speakers joining as well. Dr. John, you have been most liked from our participants. They keep wanted you continuously because you have conducted the examinations. So people wanted, and we really appreciate you again joining us in this conference. And we have Llewellyn as well. He has been uh, again joining us in this conference as well. There are a lot of our participants uh, continuously asking somebody to join from South Africa. So we have Llewellyn from South Africa as well. Um, and we have new two speakers today. I'm not counting myself. I'm just a person who's going to help my speakers and what conclusion is coming from today's discussion. There are some challenges that we discussed last time as well. However, there are some new things came up with some myth that I will be covering as well. But we have two new speakers, Dr. Akorfa and we have Sarah. Dr. Akorfa is from Ghana and Sarah is from Egypt, and they are most welcome to today's conference. Obviously, at end of this webinar, we'll try all of our, including with our speakers, what all questions are coming up from our participants. We'll try to answer. I am saying that participants are joining continuously to us. It's great to let everybody knows as well that today, right now, we have people from 21 different countries. So it's a great opportunity that all the different parts of the world, people are joining, not only from Africa, South Africa, but people are joining from Asia, Southeast Asia, as well as from some people are joining from North America as well. So quickly, I will give an overview about Llewellyn, who's a very dynamic person. Obviously, Llewellyn, I'm sorry, is an executive director of an educational non-profit organization that is Genesis Community IT Initiative and center manager of the ICANN Center, an initiative of the Western Cape. He's the CEO of GCT Campus as well. It's an IT college that offers industry-led training, and is I'm sorry. Successfully, more than 10,000 citizens were empowered in digital skills in 4 years through the ICANN Center. He has been continuously part of the radio show, and he has been continuously joining Radio 786, and more than 5,000 listeners keep joining Llewellyn to hear more good and facts coming from him. So Llewellyn, I would like today to start with you and understand and really appreciate, first of all, Llewellyn joining us, and why we today asked for the video conferencing, because most of our participants were asking that, requesting as well that why not we should have the video conference, and that's why I'm sorry I have requested all my speakers, but all of you have joined as well as a video conferencing. Thanks all again. How you are planning? So I'm giving it to you, Llewellyn, from here, so that you can take it from there. I know people might be having a lot of questions in between. So people who are having any questions with Llewellyn, you can raise on our Q&A box as well. Llewellyn, it's to you now.
South African time, good morning, everyone. All the participants, the panelists, and also to Pramil and his prestigious team that is actually leading this discussion on online examination. So firstly, thank you to everyone. I express my gratitude for those that are still tuning in, and I am actually very grateful. I will switch off my camera just to make sure that the audio is more effective than looking at and seeing my face. So Pramil has placed me first in the discussion. I always felt very comfortable to be to speak after Dr. John, but in this case, he's positioned me very first, putting a lot of pressure on me. But once again, I am grateful and I am thankful. For the sake of time, I will start out just touching on online examination and also give the rationale behind it. The introduction was done on the work that I do that is specifically on digital skills and also other skills. In South Africa, with our high unemployment rate, skills are extremely important. And beyond skills which are important, we've focused on online learning when we started out pushing that, and that has gone successful. But from online learning, we've grown to online exams, and that is the point of discussion everyone has now during this time. Since we've experienced the COVID-19 pandemic, we've opted for online learning. Now we are sitting at the stage of where we discuss online examination. And I'll be flowing through with the PowerPoint. And I think I've mentioned the first paragraph. So the online learning provides various benefits, but what I've seen of online examinations, it can be user-friendly. It can, for some people, in some cases, not be user-friendly, and that will definitely relate to those that are not digitally inclined or having proper digital skills or feeling comfortable about online exams. That's the most important thing. And there will be a few keywords that I'll be driving, which is comfortable and also confidence. Online exams can present in itself technology forward. And when I say that, I speak about the advantages it can serve for both the organization, exam invigilator, and also the teacher that must grade the assessments. There is a possibility that we can speak about reduced labor cost if you trace back and you look at a break-even model when you actually conduct a big online or a traditional exam, where the cost includes for exam invigilation, the printing of the paper, the examination papers, the security and the privacy around it. Those are things that takes time, which we have gone through that process for many years. So at the same time, you're also looking at save on time investment in that regard. It can serve as a reduced overheads based on your organization. And online exams definitely can increase security and privacy, which I will touch on. So I also do admit that it can either serve as a promoter or a barrier in online learning on the aspect on infrastructure. And that would be one of the keywords that we all would connect to today on the aspect of infrastructure. Does your infrastructure act as a barrier to online learning and online examination, or is it a promoter? And I think once we get that right, we can then move forward, or we can re-look at our strategy. We can go to the next slide. So I do admit the challenges which can be faced because everyone is always looking at the challenges, which is a very big reality. And sometimes the challenges can have severe cost included, and that's the reason why I am mentioning it. So the investment in infrastructure costs will then allow you to look at online examinations differently and definitely see it as a promoter. Okay, coming back to my story and what I faced before COVID-19, I was faced with the challenge where my students had to write exams and I needed to make a decision. They were already prepared in the space of online learning, and now they had to move to online examination. And in that regard, with COVID-19, we were forced to move to online examination. So students had to adopt the mElimu online exam platform to undertake these exams. And that is where we then had first-hand experience about the lockdown browser, but also at the same time, it gave students an opportunity. And today, as we are listening across Africa, across the world on online examination, I realize it's also all about the student and where they share their experiences. And that becomes extremely important because how we view things and how they experience it can be different, and we need to capture that information. So on this slide, I have AI proctored online exam. We can move to the next slide. So being faced with this challenge, I needed to make decisions, and the portal that mElimu presented actually addressed all the concerns we had in the organization before we moved to actual online examination. And I will start out with something that is called the lockdown browser. So this was a great advantage, that the browser can be locked down during exams, and also all other applications could be disabled on the system for a student writing exams, meaning that the student cannot surf Google, they cannot do anything else that will either serve as a distraction or either serve as possible cheating. So this feature was good for having a lockdown browser. And this helped us in that regard, that the student would only view the exam only. Now, what we've also realized, that during an exam, which was one of the biggest challenges, if a student has to undertake an exam in a regulated environment online, and also at the same time remotely at home, our biggest challenges, will these students cheat? And looking at the tradition, what has would happen in the past, where if we would analyze how students traditionally cheated, this challenge existed for us again moving online. What saved us was actually the artificial intelligence camera or webcam, that functionality included into the system, whereby face recognition can be monitored and can also be measured, where the online proctor can actually pick up when students remove their face exactly from the screen, and then instruct them or guide them not to do it. The system also allows, where once you look at students moving their faces continuously, meaning if I see that students are moving their faces continuously more than 10 times, indeed it can serve as a suspicion. Or even swivel their face continuously. That means someone is not looking directly at the camera or directly at the screen. And there can either be some notes being somewhere placed. The online proctor can then serve as, do I disqualify your exam, or do I reprimand you to continue? So these are the things that was quite powerful for us when we heard that there was artificial intelligence built into the system that is connected to the webcam, that can actually allow us to feel safe in conducting an exam in a regulated environment, but also remotely. We then realized, and I think research covers this tremendously, that once students are now using technology as a medium of exam, technology setup or login, you find yourself taking sometimes even up to 30 minutes just to successfully log in. Low bandwidth can also serve as a problem during that time. But we have discovered that we need to give students definitely extra time. If an examination was 2 hours, we actually needed to give the child 3 hours. We needed to do that. And that is one of the things that is extremely important. So we discovered 1 hour extra would be suffice from a technical administrator login up until the student at the end can go back and review their work, and also at the same time ensure that before they would exit the exam, that they can check everything and then either save successfully and move forward. So we knew that there were challenges within the technical environment that a student needed to understand. Traditionally, it would be a piece of paper. You've used your pencil, you filled in the information. But with the online exam, there are some other features that they need to adhere to ensure that their work is saved as they progress. So these new features, like saving continuously, making sure everything is up to date, becomes extremely important for a student to be conscious during this time, that they can actually be aware what is happening. So definitely we had a challenge where students were anxious, and anxiety can either serve as a promoter or as a barrier in this regard, because students being anxious about the infrastructure, will the computer go down, will the technology, will the internet disconnect? These are the fears that they have. But beyond that fears, if the technology serves as a promoter, students can then feel confident about the exam, and also at the same time, I would say, comfortable. So adding extra time is extremely important. I'm going to place great emphasis on it because this will ensure that students can be successful in everything basically that they do during exam. So the online invigilator could immediately interact with students to correct where it's needed. I think I have mentioned that. So it makes the online remote invigilator proactive during the exams, which we actually want. And that was for us extremely important, that we could monitor the exam process with students remotely. Okay, we can move to the next slide. Okay. What we discovered also, that we could schedule exams during the time. We could schedule the online exams where the window would open, where the exam would start, and when the exam would finish. That was an advantage for us, that this can be scheduled remotely, and we would know on a standardized level that students across communities or remote communities or rural communities could write the exam at the same time. And also in saying that, where the advantage lies is that your online exam then becomes a bank of questions that can be restructured, that can be redone. So if anything would happen during exam, there are processes which you as an organization can follow. You can have a backup exam, or let me use the word, a supplementary exam, whereby you don't need to go and reprint, but you can just reset it up if that would be the case where something has happened remotely. So we can clearly see that moving online can pose challenges, but the advantages are much more greater in such a way that supplementary exams can also serve as a solution. What I've also seen to make sure, especially with technology. Now, we know that the technology is successful in itself, but it's always the human capital behind it and how we drive it that make it much more successful. So in my case, I had to make sure that the staff and the support was adequate, and to monitor exams and support students through the live chat. Now, the live chat is a very powerful thing because directly students can interact and we can respond much more quicker and directly. So there is no lag time. And as I've mentioned, this obviously relates to 1 hour additional during the exam time if a student has a specific question to ask, or if the language posed in a question can portray as complex, and we need to either simplify it for the student if a question is posed in that nature. Now, when students sign up for the exam, they need to sign up before the time, and there they need to upload a photo. Now, we've seen that now that they've signed up, the exam is scheduled for those students. It becomes extremely important for the person who opens up the exam, who sits behind the computer and the webcam. And this is where the webcam and the system matches that the student who's undertaking the exam is the exact student that is on the system. So this results in matching taking place, and that is where the artificial intelligence of the mElimu system comes in, that we know that the student who's undertaking the exam is the student on the system. And also during exams, that there is no swap around of people. And that was also another advantage for our organization when we considered the platform. With South Africa currently at the moment, we do face load shedding schedules, meaning power outages across various states and provinces. And we then realized that the students complained that it actually took even place during exams. In South Africa, load shedding was scheduled at different times in different communities. So to create a standardized exam posed a challenge for us. But we also saw that the system could save their work automatically, and they could continue again once power went back on. So that was an advantage for us, because students working on an exam and power goes off or goes off, scheduled or unscheduled, the system in itself would also save the work. So that was an advantage that we could see how this platform would help our organization in online examination. I think that's the last point of my slide. I think I've moved very quickly. But just sharing the stuff that's very important for me was obviously the lockdown browser. That was a great help. But I can today say that this online platform related to us as an organization to be valid, reliable, secure, and flexible. Thank you, Pramod.
Right. Thank you, Llewellyn. Absolutely, you are correct. Actually, I think very well said. Uh, in this pandemic, obviously, the physical examination cannot be happened, but ultimately, at the other side, if you are seeing as well, uh, you are saving the cost as well. What you are running for the physical examination, the cost goes reduced as well. However, there are small things that need to be keep checking to get your system running for conducting these external examinations. And you talked about how to quickly have those support happen live chat should be the lockdown browsers. And you talked about very good point that maybe the certain shutdown is happening or certain crashes is happening. Students may be needing more time. They can request more time and those times can be extended accordingly for the examination. Thanks, Llewellyn. We
Thank
have
you.
next speaker, Dr. Akorfa. She's with us. Everybody can see her. Hi, Akorfa. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Perfect. So it's been a long time, Akorfa. I'm seeing you because I've stopped coming to Ghana due to this pandemic. But obviously, as soon pandemic will finish.
I see you too. It's very well. In fact, we are expecting you in Ghana. And when the ports are open, I think I should be coming to India. Hello. Hello.
I'm sorry, Akorfa. You can take it from here. We really wanted, first of all, you to speak about your uh, topic. But before that, I would like everybody to just give briefing about yours. So you are an entrepreneur and founded few businesses, including Jire Microfinance Limited is one of the organization, and then Jire Integrated Transport Services you have started as well. You have been as a and very committed to the entrepreneurial skills development as well. You have been as a tutor with a world of experience in learning platform, both face-to-face and online. And obviously you are a microfinance expert and has years of working experience in the financial services. It's good to seeing you from Ghana, and also you have been graduated from Walden University in the USA, among others, an institution that has obviously distinguished in online education. Absolutely, you are correct. Really, thanks first of all for joining us, and we really appreciate. I'm giving it to you from here to take it forward. Please, Akorfa.
Thank you, Pramil. As I indicated, it's great having you. I'm joining this program. I know you've been doing a lot, and we can only thank you for the initiative to have this conversation. So we'll be looking at our context of pandemic and prior COVID learning platforms in Ghana. And as my other colleague said, I will have to put the video so we can have a smooth discussion. So we'll also be looking at the challenges of examination in Ghana and a few suggestions. Please move to the next slide. Okay, so we know that the COVID has actually brought a lot more attention to the online examination, and Ghana is no exception. Of course, I'll be speaking on Ghana perspective. And please, you can bring every point down. So due to the COVID, most institutions have been forced to look at the internet facilities on the online learning platforms, which most institutions in Ghana will not do in the first place for reasons that I will outline later. So given the academic calendars have been disrupted, online became an alternative. And the main point here is that it is an alternative and not a main source of instruction or examination. Please, the next one. Okay, so prior to the COVID, how has Ghana fared in online learning examination? Now, when you look at one of the points that will come, whereas learning online started centuries ago in most countries, we only joined in the 1973s, where we adopted distance education as one of the means of instruction and also training. So most institutions were not concerned about what we call online learning and examination. And those that adopted at the point in time were only concerned with using emails to interact with students, and also using internet chats, using discussions, and also giving resources out to the internet. But the concept of examination has not been part of the Ghana educational system. When you look at very established institutions like Legon, UCC, UST, among others, most of them have the Moodle platform, they have the Blackboard, they have the Angel, and recently the Google Class has taken stage. But examination still has been left to face in most cases. I looked at few of the institutions that conducted examination during the lockdown, and it's a development. Right. That's what I can say for now. So what has been the objective in our educational system being brought to online? Basically is to increase access given the limited infrastructure in most schools and the growing population. So the distance education, or what we call corresponding education in Ghana, has basically been that we have Legon in Accra. Then Legon would have established some campuses across the country. So students would have to physically walk in there and stay there and have classes. And in some cases, and in most cases, examination. They can have materials and other things online. But to conduct examination physically, online, has not been part of our system in Ghana. But I need to indicate that these are due to perceptions of our educational system, which I will explain later. Please, the next slide. Okay, so as I was mentioning, the dominant education or educational philosophy in Ghana has been face-to-face. So in most cases, a learned person is who we see studying and writing examination physically. And also a lot of importance or relevance has been made to physical structures. You can recommend your university based on their campus, the size of their campus, the structure they have. So if you introduce someone to a university or a learning institution that is remote somewhere, they don't have buildings, they don't have campuses, and you can't physically see someone writing examination, it's not accepted. practice. So those of us who studied outside Ghana using online platform, it's like, well, they will have to investigate you to really know what you have studied, because nobody can see your structure. They can't see you writing examination. So it is not, I mean, you are not a qualified person. That is the perception. So what happened? When the lockdown took place and institutions have to continue their calendar, they started looking at LMS as a temporal measure to the face-to-face. Still not as a substantive mode of instruction and examination. So some institutions continued with giving instruction and learning instruction through the internet, but postponed examinations because the facilities have not been established, or that the system does not believe in examination. Now, few of the institutions, as I mentioned, have done some examinations online, and I'm sure going forward, they would have identified, as my other colleague mentioned, that there are a lot of advantages in the online examination platform. And I know history will be the best and will teach us best. Now, so what has been the challenges? I also mentioned earlier on, that culture, we have the culture of see and believe.
Absolutely.
So a lot of institutions have not put in any measures to examine online. And then, as a country, we have not put in that infrastructure that can allow students in remote areas to have examination. As my other colleague mentioned, you know, you need to have internet. And how many communities have internet in our country? How many of them have continuous internet facilities in our country? We don't have it. So if you want to conduct examination online for a public university, for example, it means that a lot of people will be left out, and institutions wouldn't want to go that line. The other broad term that I will mention here and discuss later is the level of poverty or poverty mentality. You know, for a student to have examination online, they must have internet facility, as we said. They must have laptops, they have computers and smartphones. Do we believe that parents should spend that amount of money, their limited resources, on laptops? We see it as luxury and not as a critical tool in our current learning environment. So most parents have not provided this for their children. Some may be poverty, some may be ignorance. And so I think that that is one of the challenges. Now, discussing this in more detail. As I mentioned, we have dominance culture of face-to-face classroom instruction. And so it will take some time for people to appreciate the online platform. And then there's no, I mean, we hardly have policy frameworks in our country to take advantage of internet opportunities. A lot of educational policies mention internet learning or online learning, but little is said about examination. So when you look at most of the policy frameworks of institutions, it's like a future step to take and not now. Meanwhile, it is now, and COVID has actually taught us the lesson. And please, if you can go back to the previous slide. Now, we mentioned that, you see, when belief systems are affected, it is a great issue. Once the institutions, the community do not believe in the system, they wouldn't then put the policy in there. And that is the only point I want to make there, so we can come back to your next slide. And this lack of policy or lack of belief has actually supported some perceptions in our learning platform that people have to be physical, instructions have to be physical, exercises have to be physical, costs and structure. Everything must be physical because that is our belief system. We need to see people being examined. We want to see people taking instruction and acting on it. Then we can authenticate or validate what they are studying, and not specifically the content of what people are taking. We need to accept the fact that there are examination malpractices. So you can move to the next slide. There are examination malpractices everywhere. And so Ghana is no exception. Even if people are able to cheat physically, when we have invigilators there, we have your lecturer there, but people can still, yes, how much more the issue of absence of no one, and the person is left with his books, a computer with a lot of information out there, and then you are asking this person to write examination. And that is why I admire the face intelligence that mElimu has introduced, which is critical in our time. And as I also mentioned, we have internet facility. So when you set up an examination, you are expecting the student to answer directly. It's just a click of a button. The student can go back there, go online, check, get answers, and provide. So the examination may not be achieving its purpose at that point. And the other challenge, as we have seen, is the IT infrastructure. When we are talking about IT infrastructure, we are talking about computers, computer lab, softwares, modems, and projectors as much as possible. Modems, you agree that anybody who would want to have internet at home for some of this will have to acquire certain things. And these are some of the things that we have to acquire. Are all parents, are all university parents or students able to afford this in our country? And the answer is no. So when we are introducing the issue of online examination, we are actually saying that some will be technically knocked out, which in the future would have to prepare for. And that leads us to the educational institutions preparing their infrastructure and also their students to some of this. So instead of acquiring some other assets for families, then the focus now be turned to acquiring some of this ICT infrastructure to make sure that our students can take advantage of the opportunities online. Then internet connectivity, we have said that a lot, and also the issue of electricity. In a developing country, we know these are not available everywhere. So the public universities in particular couldn't have used the online examination because of their students. I'm told some of the students would have to be reached through uncles and aunties. How would that person be able to log on? So these will be good for some other well-resourced parents and students at the moment. But in the future, if we do a lot more work, we see that a lot more people will acquire this and use. So talking about Ministry of Education in Ghana, I have not seen or cited or heard that there are guidelines from Ministry of Health at the moment, Ministry of Education, sorry, Ministry of Education regarding online examination. But I know that in the future that will happen. And so the institutions that use the online have used their internal arrangements to get students to take the examination. So the calendar does not lag behind. Please, the next slide. Okay, so I also mentioned the issue of our belief system. And so one big challenge is acceptance of online. And if we look at all the facilities that the mElimu platform has, I think that it is time that institutions really look at it, because if the fears are outlaid, the fears are taken off, let me use that word, and people now realize that there are remedies or strategies to prevent the malpractices, there will be acceptance. So the challenge is that for now, that is not accepted or believed to be a good enough system. And also this issue of absence of guidelines. Institutions have to sit up and draw something up in the heat of the moment. So if they had time, I'm sure they would have gone in there to study the various platforms that are available. They would have selected and acquired appropriate LMS. Few investors that I interacted with did not actually know of platforms like mElimu. So they wouldn't, of course, look at it. But if it were to be that they decided, or the strategy they decided to use the online examination as a strategy, they would have taken more time to study the environment and then look for institutions or LMS that will address their concerns. So the selection also became an issue, and that also prevented them from using the online. And of course, we have budgetary allocation as a problem. Most institutions are having difficulty to meet their budgetary expenses, let alone those they have not budgeted for. So the absence of budget for the online examination was also a challenge. Of course, they have their classrooms already. They also have their invigilators and their framework already. So it was easy to consider that as best. But when we look at the paper printing, the examination questions and the securities that have to accompany the face-to-face examination, we all agree or would see that online examination can be a way out and save a lot of costs for our educational institutions and training centers. Another challenge I think of is the lack of trained teachers to handle the LMS. Most institutions have instructors or teachers or lecturers who have been there for years, but have not been technologically inclined. So asking these born before computers, the BBCs, to now go online to set examination to invigilate was a big issue. And so I pounced on this document from Nesha and Al Hassan. They conducted some studies, and the issue was about computers for schools, primary schools, and other and junior high schools. And when you look at it, you realize that most institutions from infancy, we have not been used to computers. So if you say this matured lecturers to conduct examination online, that is a big issue. So the lecturers or the trainers themselves or the professors themselves, some of them have not been trained on this LMS examination. So that was a challenge. So students were not prepared for it. And so going forward, what should we be looking at?
Absolutely, I think well said. Obviously, I think you are covering a lot of challenges, and I think people are asking a lot of questions. So all the people who are asking the question will answer those questions in our question and answer round at the last of the webinar, obviously. Yes, please go ahead.
Pramil, I have 2 more slides.
Sure, no. Please go ahead.
Okay, so given we are faced with increasing population and lack of physical structure, online education, online training examination can be a great solution. So my proposal or my suggestion is institutional realignment. That is critical. Institutions now will have to look at how to realign their strategies to meet this growing population and the infrastructural deficiencies. Please, the next slide. Now, so when we are talking about institutional realignment, we are talking about online teaching and learning, as I mentioned, and move beyond off-campus. The off-campus I'm talking about here is when institutions establish other campuses outside their main campus and believe that that is adequate. It will come to a time, or as it is right now, those structures will not help. So they need to adopt this online program gradually will be critical, such that in our normal examination, we adopt blended methods, I mean, where video conferencing, the face-to-face, the face identification, oral presentations can be incorporated in our examination. So the focus is not only on written, as it is in most cases. It is also important that educational institutions prepare towards open book examination. You see, if you want to concentrate on memorization as a way of examining our students, we will not be able to use the internet because we'll be so much concerned about the malpractices. So we wouldn't focus on the ability of our students to analyze text, to, write, prove their judgment, and how they can organize their thoughts in an examination. So it will be critical for institutions to look at open book examination as the order of the day and put in measures to prevent the malpractices that put us off the online examination programs. Please, the next slide. Now, another point I would want educational institutions to focus on is to champion infrastructure development nationwide. You see, now if we have network on our campuses or in the cities, most students will not be able to use them online. So educational institutions will now have to promote this advent of IT infrastructure, get governments and relevant institutions to provide network across the nation, everywhere, such that in my village, I can study. If that happens, it will be a good idea for everybody. Now, we have most institutions now trying to disqualify online learning. If they do so, we cannot introduce it ourselves. So institutions will now have to promote self-spaced learning. If institutions are in the forefront promoting online, it will be easily accepted by parents, by guardians, and by the nation. So I would want to see a lot more institutions supporting online platforms and actually promoting it, giving some advantages to their students who would want to sign on those programs, such that a lot more would, like in our banking sector, if you want people to stop coming to your banking hall, what do? You put some premium on coming to the banking hall and reduce the cost of online transaction. And that will be an attraction. So if the institutions would move beyond their physical structures and promote online learning and examination, it will help us a lot. And so that will also give us opportunity to deal with this perception and the link physical structure with certificates. So when you are holding certificates, somebody will want to look at whether it was an online or it was a physical one. If we focus on the content, the delivery, the skills that people have acquired through the process, instead of looking at their physical structures, it will help our learning and examination platform. And of course, the more practices that can be addressed using the various strategies. So this is all I have to say. And I want to say a very big thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, thanks, Dr. Korfa, for sharing the challenges, and you have very detailed provided how the challenges should be resolved as well. I know MOEs in Ghana, they have provided some sort of information or guideline for learning management system for distance students. Everybody, institutions are still looking for the online examination, what guidelines are coming up. So obviously it's no are still, I think, waiting if the examination are going to be online or it should be with the open book concept or what other facilities. So, but yeah, it's really helped all the participants as well to understand the challenges you talked about. I think some of those challenges are already within it. But I think Sarah is with us. She has also found these kind of challenges, and let's see how she conducted the examination, because Sarah has conducted online examination for almost 10,000 students with I think almost more than 60,000 examinations, some around it happened in the last 2 months, and those all are online. Let me give a bit detail about Sarah as well. Sarah Alcala, she is a Deputy Chief of the Cairo for Investment and Real Estate Development. It's an Egypt X30 company and winners of Africa Top IPO in 2018 as well. Sarah is currently Egypt's largest investor in the area of private education. It holds more than 17 affiliate companies and prominent educational institutions, including Future Educational Systems, Rising Stars, Language Schools, Mavericks International Schools, British Columbia Canadian and International Schools, and Badr University in Cairo. Sarah currently caters to more than 37,000 students around Egypt, with plans for regional expansion, stemming from a deep belief in the role of social sciences and humanities educational cause in Egypt, across the Middle East and Africa region. Sarah earned her bachelor degree in sociology from the American University in Cairo in 2009. Really nice seeing you, Sarah, joining this conference. How things are in Egypt? I'm giving it to you. Take it from here.
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to this amazing opportunity. And things are going well here. We're preparing for the upcoming academic year. And as my colleagues just said, we have very minimal guidance. We're navigating uncharted territory. Each country is trying to pull through, and each region is trying to do their best. So today I'd like to speak about our experience. We've been partners with mElimu for quite some time now on both the K-12 and the higher education front. Today I'll be speaking about the experience of Badr University in Cairo, BUC, because we had quite a, I'm going to go into it bit by bit. It was quite an interesting experience. I'll go through the challenges, the solution, the actions that we took, what our plans are, and some advice that I have.
Sure.
Can we go to the next slide? So one of our biggest challenges was time constraints. Can we move to the next slide? We had 29 days to get an examination center up and running, and my colleagues from mElimu here can tell you that this was a huge challenge. 29 days to get everyone on board with a brand new product and a brand new solution. The ministry, a few days before April 28th, the ministry had announced that all of the universities in Egypt had the option of doing whether research papers or online examinations, since schools weren't getting back into session as was previously scheduled. So we had to take the decision of, since all of our students were already enrolled in the LMS and we're used to this platform, so we decided to take the bold move of working with them on developing an examination center. And let me tell you, it was not easy. We emailed the team on the 28th. We got an instant, and this was the end of the day Cairo time, given the time difference. We got an instant reply. We had on the 29th, we started working and to develop the examination center. The reason we did this is because even though we already have our LMS, but again, for proctoring purposes, to make sure that the system was secure, and I'll get into all of the reasons and all the things that we're looking for into the system, but it was a tough sell. To make sure that we move all of the university onto this secure platform. It was a bold decision, but we took it. May 22nd, the first training was held. Can we move back to the previous slide, please? 22nd, we held the training for the staff, and obviously the platform demo was launched. We started our trial exams on the 27th to make sure that the students were aligned and got some training. And on June 1st, we started our examinations. So it was literally a marathon, and we pulled through, and it was a huge success. Moving on to the next part. We had a lot of stakeholder resistance, starting from the professors. We had, a big meeting with the president of the university and all of the deans, and we faced a lot of resistance from the get-go, because a lot of them, especially university professors, as Dr. Akfor was saying, not everyone is as tech savvy or not part of this generation. So we faced a lot of resistance out of fear of, sure, Arshel. I hope you can hear me better now.
Yes,
So
Sarah,
as I
we
was
can
saying,
hear you.
Okay. So as I was saying, we faced a lot of resistance because of readiness, because of being technology savvy. Not everyone had faith that we would be able to pull this off in such a short time. And also this would be something that a brand new product to bring to the table. On the other hand, we had a lot of resistance from the students, because when the Ministry of Higher Education announced, they gave universities the choice of, as I mentioned, research papers or online exams. Obviously, most of the students wanted to opt for research papers to get out of the rigor of online examinations. So we faced a lot of resistance from the students wanting to push back and force the university into doing research paper, but we stuck our grounds. And the following challenge was training. We had a lot of very short time. Can we move on to the next slide, please? We had very limited time to carry on training. As I mentioned, May 22nd, we started training, and the examination started on the 27th. And I'd like to give you the background, this was happening during the holy month of Ramadan, when everyone, a huge chunk of the country, they were fasting. So timings were shifted a bit. Work time was different. The schedules were different during that time. And also training fell smack dab into the middle of the holidays. So we actually had to do training the second day of holidays here in Egypt. So we had to do online training for all of our faculty and staff. The session took way longer than expected because we had a lot of questions to take care of. We had to conduct all of the training virtually, and we also had to do the same for the students. So we had like different levels of training. We had for the faculty, we had training for the support staff, and we also had to work on having a demo exam up on the system to train the students. All being done virtually. We had a lot of issues because we wanted to make sure that we have enough materials for the students to go through. So we created a lot of tutorials, a lot of communications back and forth with the students to make sure that they're all aligned, because they were no longer using the LMS that they were used to. They were using a different platform now. Alibite at Tide, which we're going to talk to, but still, it was still a brand new option for them. And given the resistance, training the students was also a bit of a challenge, but alhamdulillah, we got through. The final constraint that we had, or the final prominent constraint on the next slide, please, is connectivity. Connectivity was a huge issue because with Badr University, we have the student body is actually across Egypt, and we have some students, we have a lot of students from the student body is from various countries, but a lot of the students are not in Cairo where the university is, they're in different governorates. So some of them live like 2-3 hours away and do the daily commute, and some of them live in rural areas. So connectivity was a big issue. And I believe all of the speakers today, we're all talking about connectivity has been our biggest constraint. We were able to, because we set specific guidelines for what we need from the students, we try to provide them with alternatives for connectivity, and direct them to locations where they, the closest locations to them where they can get the best connectivity to make sure that they're online and active. But connectivity was a big issue, and we wanted to make sure that the system we used wouldn't be heavy, so that the students can access it and access it with using basic computers. Because with the university, they had all the access, but part of the regulations from the ministry is that we couldn't allow any students on campus. So our gut instinct was to open up our university labs to the students, but we were forbidden to do that. So we had to rely on the infrastructure, the existing infrastructure in each and every single home, be it, be it rural or in the city. Can I move on to the next slide, please?
Sure.
Thank you. So we decided, as I mentioned, to go with the examination center, which was a bold move. But when we talked about the examination center, we wanted something that would cater to such a large student body. We had almost 10,000 students that would be taking their exams. We were looking at a large number of concurrent users. We wanted to make sure that we have, at the time we said we had agreed that at the very least we needed 600 concurrent users taking their exams and working at the same time. We wanted to look at multilingual support, and this was a big feature because we have a school of linguistics and they have languages ranging from Spanish to, to Arabic, to Chinese. We had different character sets. So we wanted to look at a system that would be able to support all of that. And this is something that we really worked on a lot to make sure it supports. We also, because of the engineering, like School of Engineering and such, we wanted something that would provide, scientific annotations and math equations. And so, this was a lot to demand in such a short time. We also wanted a flexible question bank to accommodate for the different levels tech savviness. Basically, not all of the staff were as tech savvy, and it was such a short time, so it wouldn't be possible for them to set their exams bit by bit. And when we mentioned in the beginning, in South Africa, they had mentioned that pre-corona they were told to go ahead and prepare. Unfortunately, this wasn't the case, and as I mentioned, in less than a month they had to convert all of their exams, to get them ready and to upload them into the question bank. So we wanted something that it's flexible, has a lot of formats, that would be able to accommodate the pre-existing formats that they were using or easily converted. Privacy and security was key. We wanted to make sure that we have a secure system that we can use, because academic integrity is the biggest part. And just like with any educational institution, with any institution really, academic integrity is key. It could make or break a university's reputation. So we wanted to make sure that the grades that were given were fair and that our students were able to access the system easily. So we opted for the lockdown browser. There were two options, the lockdown browser or Respondus Monitor. The latter would require that all of the students have their cameras installed, they had webcams so that we can monitor them. However, we didn't opt for that because, as I had mentioned, we were relying on the connectivity and the infrastructure of each separate house. It was too short of a time, and the students were already panicking. So we decided for phase one that we would just go for the lockdown browser, which, as my colleagues had already explained, would basically control the student's laptop and it would or computer, and it wouldn't allow them to open anything else. So this is how we decided to go with. And then we also needed something that would accommodate live support, because with 10,000 students on the platform, different levels, different issues, different technical issues, we needed to make sure that we have live support, and so that we can get to the students right away. Can we move on to the next slide? So as I mentioned, first thing was getting buy-in and raising awareness. We worked heavily on, and this is something that I'm going to talk about with the advice, but getting buy-in is key. We had a lot of resistance, but we worked really hard on getting buy-in from all of the stakeholders, especially the faculty and staff, because we needed them on board in order for this to be a successful initiative. And we needed to raise awareness because there were a lot of misconceptions with the students regarding privacy issues. When we talked about installing lockdown browsers, some of them evoked privacy issues, and we had to explain to the students how we're privacy and how we're taking privacy into consideration, and how there would be no breaches to their systems and things of the sort. And it was also raising awareness to the public because we were getting a lot of heat at this point. There were only 3 universities that took the bold decision to go ahead and do this. One of them decided, after a lot of pressure from the stakeholders, they decided to no longer offer this and opt for research papers. So there were only BUC and American University in Cairo that were actually proceeding with this. And BUC was the only university in Egypt that was actually doing, had the full solution with a secure examination center, not just running the lockdown browser on their LMS. We worked on migration and data verification because yes, all of our students were already on the LMS, but this was a new platform that we're linking with our existing LMS. But also we need to verify a lot of the data because some of the students, not all of the students were required to take the examinations. So all of the students, with the exception of final year students, were required to take their examinations. And so we need to make sure that, and some of them were already registered in subjects that didn't have that that they were taken third and second year. So there was a lot of data filtration and verification of the data that was moving from this platform to the next to make sure that we start on a solid ground and that all of the students have their proper access to the exams that they need. As I mentioned, we worked on stakeholder training and the trial exams. And the reason we opted for the trial exams is we wanted to give the students not just a demo trial, we wanted to give them 1 and 2 trials with the full examination environment. Some of these trial exams were actually quizzes that the students had no time to take prior to the shutdown. So we did the trial exams. We wanted the students to feel the entire examination environment, try out their hands with exams. So it was, it was a full test run. It was true, and they got the grades. We also wanted to make sure that the grades were done properly and that the faculties are able to process the grades correctly. And then we worked on the population, the question bank. And as I said, this was a big issue for us to make sure that all of the faculty are there, but thank God they pulled it off beautifully. And then we also worked on tiered and remote support because within the university itself, we need to have different levels of support, catering to the students, catering to the faculty, and then we had to make sure that we had remote support to support the students that are in rural areas. And we had some of the cases we actually had to connect virtually to their computers and take over to make sure that we're setting up things because there were some complications with some of the students that quite advanced. And our IT team was there, mElimu's team was there for the support, and they were able to cater to all of the students. Can we move on to the next slide, please? This was such a successful experience for us. We got a lot of media exposure and the students were quite happy. And some of the people that were really leading and laying into us in terms of resistance are some of the people that really advocated for us afterwards and admitted how successful of a program this is. And so, as I mentioned, this was phase 1. Moving into phase 2, we're working with our partners here on moving forward to the next phase. We're looking at the full integration with the LMS, not just the data, but so that the grades are tied. And because from now on, all of our examinations, we're taking the decision that all of the examinations are going to be held on the examination portal, not on the LMS. So we're looking at the full LMS integration. And I'd like to mention here that one of the features, because I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this, one of the features that we're really looking for when we were working on the examination center, and it was one of our criteria, is that we wanted something, obviously user-friendly environment, but we also wanted the interface to look very similar to the current interface of their LMS, because we didn't want people to feel that they're moving to a completely different system. This lowered resistance, but it also was a challenge to make sure that the interface and the UI would suit the existing LMS. We're looking at expanded reports. I saw in the comments that some of you were asking about how do you know if detailed reports in terms of there's power outage or if the internet connectivity goes out. So we've actually worked with mElimu team on expanding the reports, and we're still going to expand them even more because academic integrity, as I mentioned, is key. So we wanted to make sure that if a student has any power outage issues, that it was real, and if they had connectivity issues, the system would automatically notify us so that the student would get a fair chance into a re-exam or extended time. And this actually is something that happened quite a few times, and there are some students that had to do a retake and some students where we extended the time. We're also looking at having analytics that would, and this is going to happen with the tie-in with LMS, and practical exams. We had, to an extent, we really catered to practical exams with having at least what I mentioned, the multilingual support and having the oral exams carried on there. But we're looking at faculties, for example, like engineering and applied arts. They have a lot of drawings, for example, and things that and scientific experiments for the science group. We need a bit more of practical exams, support for practical exams, and we're working with the team on this. We've got some great ideas from them, and that we're going to carry on into the next phase. Can we move on? So in a nutshell, we had 29 days to come up with the system. We had 9,524 registered students at the beginning. Now they've increased even more. We had 890 exam sessions run, and that number is still increasing. My key advice here is to find a proper partner. This would have never been possible if we didn't have the right partners in place, if we didn't work with the right team in the first place. I honestly had my doubts in the beginning, but we were able to pull it through. In June, we had 58,000 exams conducted, and then we had in July 23,000 exams conducted. So with the trial run and then moving forward, so a total of 81,000 exams conducted in 2 months. The percentage surprised us all. The participation was amazing. Feedback was amazing. And I'm not exaggerating. We really did have, because a lot of the people that were resisting this, we even had a few newspapers writing, some things about us, forcing students to go for online exams. But these same newspapers were the ones to come out and say this is a unique experience in Egypt, and that they were advocating for everyone else to give it a try. So my advice is find a true partner. It's never too late. And with COVID, as I said, we're navigating uncharted territory. There are a lot of research out there and a lot of news about the second wave. There is a possibility for the countries that are going back into school, there is a possibility of going back online, just like we did the second term. So now, before we weren't prepared, and we had to get prepared, but now I think it's a golden opportunity for everyone to get prepared. So in case there is another close down and we need to move online and conduct examinations online, it would be ideal for you to start now. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for providing such a detailed information. And I think it's really been an inspiring how you have conducted the examination with sorry, I was just disconnected actually. So there was some challenge happened actually. Nancy, can you please share your screen? So I was adding like being you, Sarah, like as a leader, obviously to make any project successful or any examination successful, the team need a leader who can lead the complete activities and get this happened. We really appreciate you in the last 2 months been successfully conducted, and BUC has moved forward to the new intakes. Going to the next, welcome Dr. John. Seeing all of you, all of us are seeing you again. Thanks Dr. John, joining us again. You have been continuously our participants are liking a lot of yours. Because we have a lot of people from Kenya and East Africa. They are facing different challenges as well, and they wanted to listen from you as well. And I quickly wanted to give a bit brief about yourself. Dr. John is a senior lecturer at the Management University of Africa and is a Deputy Vice Chancellor of the Management University of Africa as well. That is Management University of Africa, MOA. Dr. John holds a PhD in Business Administration, Finance specialized Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, Master of Business Administration, Finance degree from the University of Nairobi, and a Bachelor of Commerce Accounting degree, University of Nairobi as well. He is a qualified certified public accountant. We are knowing Dr. John since last several years. Thanks, Dr. John, joining us here. Giving it to you to take it from here.
Thank you very much, Pramil, for the introduction. I want to thank all the participants for finding time to be with us this morning and afternoon. I want to thank also my predecessors, the three presenters so far who have presented about the challenges and also solutions going forward. I think being the last presenter makes me like, because from the three presenters, it basically covers the Kenyan experience. It basically covers the Kenyan experience. So I may actually risk becoming monotonous if I go through my slides. That is what I have realized, because the Kenyan experience as presented in my slides are exactly the same as presented by my three predecessors. So let me, with your permission, Pramil, let me just have a rundown experience of our university as far as online examination is concerned, so that we give an opportunity to our participants to respond to the very many questions which have been asked. Is that okay, Pramil? If I can do a rundown with it. So that I don't go through my slides. So I just want to give a brief background on the Kenyan experience.
Sure.
In the Kenyan, in our country, Kenya, it goes way back to March when the first case of COVID-19 was reported in Kenya. The government at that point in time took a decision to close all the learning institutions, that is the tertiary colleges, that is the primary schools, up to higher education like universities. At that point in time, in March, for the Management University of Africa, we were already through with our coursework. We were actually preparing for our end of the semester examinations. So with that, our students went home without doing the final semester exams. So basically, as a university, we had to go sit back and find a solution, because our students needed to progress to the next level. So we look at the various options available on doing these examinations, because the only option which was now available was to consider online examination, because the issue about face-to-face was out of reach. We evaluated several options internally as a university and realized that even though we have, over a long time, we have had online facilitation of students, the online examination experience was a bit limited, because at the moment we normally have facilitate students online for the coursework, that is submission of CAT and work-based assignment through the system, our internal system. But now doing end of the semester exams, we hadn't done that. So we evaluated internal system, and we realized it will bring credibility issues about examination, on the integrity of our examinations. And you realize examination in Kenya is highly regulated by the Commission for University Education. there are minimum standards which are set to guarantee at least fair examination. So as a responsible institution, you need to pay attention into the integrity of the exams which you are going to offer your students. After evaluating the security features which mElimu's examination software has, we found it to be sufficient for our needs, and we now settled for mElimu to offer our end of semester examination. That is our April semester examination. And I wish also to report that our August examination is also ongoing, and it is again being offered by mElimu. So as far as we are concerned as a university, our program is running smoothly because now there is no backlog of examinations. We have found an internal solution which has enabled our students to sit for April examination, and they are at the moment actually sitting for August examination. Next week, we will now resume our September-December semester smoothly, carrying everyone on board. So mElimu examination software came in handy and assisted us to reach that milestone of not interrupting our learning sessions. So briefly, if you are thinking about going online, most of my presenters have discussed about various approaches. I think the first thing you need to do is to get a buy-in from all the stakeholders. First of all, we involved our students. They gave us their responses on whether they like to do online exams or not. That is very important. Once we got the green line from our students on doing online exams, we now went ahead and also involved our faculties just to ask them about, to train them and also to ensure that they also have a buy-in in facilitating online exams. We got also, we got success adoption by our faculty. Then the next stakeholder we looked at was the administrators of these exams. We had to train our internal administrators because they are the ones who are going to facilitate these particular examinations. And we got acceptance again. And I want to assure you that we also got a great support from mElimu administration team, who have been with us all along as we go about doing our exams. They have a robust chat house which enables you to respond to each and every question which a student may raise before or even live during examination. So let me just discuss briefly in summary form what an institution needs to prepare for online examination. The first thing, of course, is for you to ensure that you register your students for these examinations at the right time so that you avoid late registrations. The advantage of registering students early enough is that there are security features which the system has, and all the needed information about a student has to be in the system in advance before the students start doing those examinations. So one important preparation is early clearing of the students who are going to sit for exams. I will recommend at least 2 weeks before an exam starts, you clear and ensure that all the students who are going to sit for those exams have provided all the needed documentations to enable you to sit for exams. The next thing which the system which mElimu has works with what is called face recognition. So you should ensure that your students provides you with current photos of themselves so that you avoid mismatch when they now log in to do those examinations. We had a bit of a challenge because the data bank we had maybe some old photos, but now when they came to do actual exams and when they were running face matching, they were not being recognized. So I advise all the institutions to ensure that they get the latest photos to facilitate this face recognition. The other thing is to train your students on login credentials. You have to train your students on login credentials to minimize basic questions, sending SMS or whatever during examination that I'm not able to log in. So it is very important to train your students to note the characters of their login credentials. That will tend to minimize waste of time and also challenges in logging in. The other important thing you need to train your students who are taking online examinations is to ensure that they properly download the lockdown browser, which is compatible with the laptop they are using. There are various types of lockdown browsers, but you should train your students to download the right browser, lockdown browser for the laptops they are using, so that they don't have a challenge when they come to do those particular examinations. The other thing which you need to prepare again is to train your students on how to upload scanned documents specifically for quantitative units. Quantitative units like statistics, financial accounting, and so forth, even economics, may have some drawings which may need to be uploaded. So you need to train your students well in advance to know how to go about in uploading such documents at the end of the exams. Of course, the other thing you need to inform your students is about having a laptop with a web camera, having a laptop with a web camera, because we had cases whereby a student is not able even to see anything, but you just need to tell them to have a camera with a web, with a laptop with a camera. The other thing which is important, which needs also to be done, is to ensure stable internet connectivity. So you should tell your students who are going to sit for those particular examinations to go to a place where there is a stable internet over the period they are doing exams. As much as possible, also, there should be stable supply of electricity during the period students are doing exams. But the advantage of the system we have is that it is able to save whatever works which the student has done, and there may not be any challenges of losing the work which a student had done. So those are some of the challenges we encountered, and as we go forward, we are okay with the mElimu's software. I think there are various recommendations which are coming from our Directorate of Quality Assurance, which are presented there, which we can also consider as going forward. Like the first one there is the online assistance or the support team should be properly trained. I think I had mentioned that one. The other one, of course, is the number of exams which can be done in a day. We realize the students, some students are a bit slow, and we recommend that we do at least one exam per day because of the challenges some students may be having typing all those exams. The issue about improvement on face recognition, I had mentioned that. There is a point which we still need to agree, to discuss and agree with the way forward. That number 4, allowing students to go out to washrooms and so forth when conducting these online exams. So that is, each university or institution will have to look at their policies as far as conducting exams and make a decision. If you allow a student to go out while doing exams, what it basically means, you do not need to expose all the questions to a student beforehand. So what it basically means is you modify the settings to ensure that a student is able to see that question which he or she is answering at any given time. That one will at least try to minimize cheating, because if you expose all the questions to a student in advance and you allow a student to go out, when the student can go out and access other materials and come back and start answering the exams based on the whatever additional information they have accessed. I think the other recommendations are available to be shared. I didn't want to take much time myself, so that we can go back to the issue on questions and answers from our participants. Thank you very much, Pramil.
Thanks, thanks, Dr. John. Thanks. Obviously, I would, before going to the quickly to the Q&A, we have a lot of questions coming from the people. We'll quickly take a couple of slides. I don't think Nancy require any kind of detailed profile about me. That can be given to the people, and people can read about quickly about myself. Just giving you my experience as well. I'm serving mElimu as a general manager and having more than 18 years of experience. And I have done my master's in computers and have done business strategy from Indian Institute of Management. There are a lot of products launched, and there are very recent products we have launched in different part of the world for SMEs as well. And I think that's rest is fine. Let's quickly move to the next slide, Nancy. So I think it's a very important factor I would like to cover today. There are a lot of myths actually, and people who haven't used the system, they are not aware of. So I thought of it discussing that quickly, those points. People think that offline exams are very easy to handle apart from, or rather than online examinations. Online examinations are very tough to handle. I think there's no difference between the offline and online examination. Generally, it's a more staff and student. What we have seen there, as soon we talked about online examination, they start having a panic, feeling, oh, we are going with online examination now. A new system will be introduced, so we are going to have a new challenge. And generally, it's not actually. If you see what our speakers said today, any examination that is conducted, even if it's a physical examination, a training being provided to all the staff members, how these are going to be happened. And similarly, what infrastructure you are having while conducting a physical examination, how you are doing those activities and you are training, similar way you are just sharing this system, how it is going to work. Students are smart enough, don't worry for the students. And that's why I think Sarah, one of our speaker, and Dr. John has also shared that we need to have a trial session. So it's not correct that offline examination is easier to handle and online examination is tough. Online examination is also similarly easy as like physical examination. It is easy to handle. Second myth I'm seeing, actually most of the people when we are talking these kind of things coming, that examinations can be conducted at any kind of platform. Absolutely not. I would request that please don't do these activities or don't try this. The examinations cannot be happened on any kind of LMS. Because if you are thinking to run the examination and those internal assessment is fine, you can run within the LMS or any tool. You are using Microsoft Team, you are using any other product, you can use it. But for online examination, it is important that the examination product is very specifically designed and developed, that has the cheat proof facility available, or the technology is embedded within there, so that you can run with the lockdown browser, you can have the proctoring concept, you should have the chat system. There are a lot of things that is required to get any examination successful. It's not only the examination when students are coming, but there are a lot of things that the backend needs to be handled prior to that. How the question paper is going to be created, how it is going to be displayed, whether those things are, there are certain open source available that has this facility to manage that questionnaire or question paper, but the front end part is not equipped with those proctoring concept or with the cheat proof concept. So stick with the portal or product that is providing specifically in the examination and has all these facilities. Third is, what if we face technical glitches? These are people are thinking that, oh, we are not technical guys, how we are going to handle this kind of situation or system while we will be conducting online exam. No, not require any kind of technicalities or technical people. Every institutions have the IT guys. That's all is required to run their system. Everybody is quickly get trained in not more than 3 days or 4 days. So a group of team, when system is implemented, a group of team can be trained how to run this kind of portal, how the students can be trained, how the question papers can be created. So it's do not require pure technical. He's not writing the code. He just need to manage from the back end, the way you guys are managing your LinkedIn account, Facebook account. You know how to post on LinkedIn or Facebook. You know how to reply to the LinkedIn or Facebook. It's a similar method. Everything you are doing, you just need to compare with your social networking system that you are using. Everything is almost similar thing. The way your students are giving the survey or giving any kind of online portal, wherever they are going and answering it, everything is same. I think the system just have another thing, that while logging in, there is 2 method to verify if the student or the user is right student or the same student or not. That's all, I think. So even the service providers, I think one obviously a given experience from both of our speakers, Sarah and Dr. John, as well as Llewellyn as well, that mElimu like team always being part of the examination. Even the examination is happening, so they are live with you, because any kind of technical challenges should not come, because we know that these kind of challenges are the life. So we know the challenges, we are addressing those challenges. Once the people are trained with the product, maybe they are not going to require, but still the team always be live to quickly sort out any kind of problem that is coming while the examination is happening. So this is also a myth. No liberty to answer question selection. I think this is a very important thing coming from the students, and even like a lot of survey happened from the student when we were conducting the examination in the colleges, that how it's a student behavior, human behavior is that when they get the question, what happened, they go to each questions and then they start from first any of the question that they feel that okay, they should start from this part of the question. So they feel that while going this kind of pattern into the online, it is going to be it's going to be a tough for them. No, there's always a navigation there as well, so that people can quickly navigate into the system, and they can start it from anywhere. The student can start it from anywhere. So the way system has designed it, being given a full liberty to the students, so that they can start from anywhere. They can flag those questions if they are not attending right away. So these options have been given. Going to the next slide. I think there's another part people think of, that I am at my home, who is going to help me? I'm alone sitting. It's not actually. The support is always that. So you can room when physical examination is happening, the teacher or 2 teachers always there in the classroom. Similarly, when students are giving the examination from home, there is a chat support option has been given, so that students can be quickly responded from the live chat. So these facilities the colleges are using as well, and our such kind of examination tool, these facilities available. So it is also a myth. I would say the reality is that it is easier to handle quickly those students if they are having the questions. Even they are sitting alone, don't feel that you are sitting alone. You are always monitored, and they can be easily answered whenever they need it. This is a very, very important point came up, where people started feeling that, okay, the online classes or examination is different from the traditional. No, absolutely not actually. if you'll see, everything is very traditional. The examination system has been designed in such a way that it gives the complete feeling. You talk about learning system, you talk about online examination. Students, the difference is that students are sitting at home, that's all. Otherwise, the teachers are seeing them and the rest of the people are seeing them as well. So they have the question papers, everything is the similar way. It's I would say more involving, and what we have seen as well, that some of the institutions we have seen that what they have done, they have involved a lot of several tools. For LMS, they are using another tool. For examination, they are using another tool. For registration, they are using another tool. For assignment and activity, they are using another tool. For live session, they are using another tool. So don't create your problem more big. There are solutions in the market like mElimu as well, where single solution. So what my point is that think of it having a single solution that solve all the purposes and follows the traditional process as well. Internet access is all I need. I think that is again is a challenge for conducting online examination. I think today our speakers talked about that to conduct such kind of online examination, it's not only the internet is required. You need to have the camera as well. You need to have the PC and laptops or Mac with you as well. So there are a lot of people talked about different kind of challenges of internet and bandwidth. I think these challenges are obviously coming in a lot of parts of Africa as well. Not in Africa also, but it is also coming in India as well. We have seen, because in pandemic, what happened, it's very differently being used actually. So the system, I think it needs to be just notified to the students in advance. If they have been notified in advance, students knows that these are going to be the examination. They go to the specific cafeteria that is near to them, or they go to their friend's home to get this examination of 1 hour or 3 hours examination attempted and finish it. So how these students are giving the examination, I'm telling you, this is how they are doing right now. And it's just about that how you should let them know, but they should be aware of that what all things will be needed to get to attempt this examination while online. Now, very important questions, even a lot of people are asking today the question as well, that online exam is expensive exercise. It's actually not true. If we'll see, there are a lot of activities, a lot of things are required when you are conducting physical examination. You bring all your teachers, you need infrastructure, you need to first of all think of it, you get your question paper printed out. Then you need answer sheets. And then you need a lot of proctors or teachers to sit and stand within the classroom. And then you need to provide all the facilities within your school or institutions, right? And then when examination happens, then you start doing the marking of those sheets as well. It is not only the, I think, taking even such kind of examinations or grading, these are taking a lot of time as well. So going with the online examination, I think not only you are saving the cost, but you are also saving the time and making this kind of examination more efficient way. So it's somehow, I will quickly talk about that, what are the actually costs that you are saving or the expenses you having right actually. So you are saving from your question paper printing. Obviously, you are saving from your answer sheet copies that you are giving to a student. Obviously, you are making more green. Having these kind of papers going to be utilized. Obviously, the infrastructure equipped with all facilities. When you are conducting any kind of examination, you need to have proper infrastructure in terms of you should have the fan or the table or the chair should be presented. Even I have seen the question paper that you have prepared, it should be, you have created in multiple categories so that you give one set of paper to some students and then another set of papers you are giving to another. So these kind of preparation also required a lot of. Then you have manual grading that you are doing, marking of these each sheet that takes maybe a month as well. to get these examinations result coming out. And then finally, you have the physical examiners who keep sitting continuously for that 8 hours or for the next 30 days. So going to the next slide quickly. I think there are some risk as well. And when we talk about those online examination, quickly, I think everybody can understand very easily that question paper leakage chance is zero here in online examination, because it's all in the secure, it's all protected. You have given certain people only. If anybody is doing anything from your system, it automatically get logged. So you can easily identify if anything happened from anywhere. Obviously, any kind of bias marking or grading cannot be happening from this system, right? Because there's a way that you have only given the enrollment number. Some of the objective questions are marked automatically, but then you have given the manual marking as well. And then those are obviously enrollment numbers are only showing to them, those teachers, and they are marking in that way. Question paper, the way I was saying, like what happened, different set of questions paper is required. So sometimes it has been seen that mistakenly you have given the same set of questions to that classroom or within the same student who is sitting adjacent to them. So these kind of problems will not be coming at the time of giving the examination. You have just a checkbox, you clicked it, and automatically all the students will be given with that 50 or 100 questions shuffled automatically. Then there's a non-secure submission happening in physical, because students have submitted the examination, then the question paper you are putting it somewhere and then binding it here. What is happening? What all students have submitted, it went to the server. It's submitted, and there is nobody who's going to unlock that. That is only the restricted people who are going to do the check, do the marking. That's all. So there's no way as well. So that's how the secure submission is happening. Time consuming activity for answer sheet checking. Obviously in this, a lot of manpower is required. In this case, obviously you're not requiring a lot of, your 5 people or 10 people can quickly finish maybe thousands of answer sheet quickly checked. And the most important thing, obviously such examination when it is being conducted, there is no recording of those sessions happening. But in your case, in online examination, you are happening these recorded available as well. So any kind of audit happening as well, you have a proof, you have those log with you, and you can easily get those information shared with your auditors or the accreditation accordingly. Thanks. I think these are only the points that I thought to share with all of you. And I am seeing there are a lot of questions coming from here. Let's pull some of the questions that is coming. Let's go from down to top quickly. I think there's a question came from Paul. There is a tendency for one to look away in say a window as they think, reflect out an answer. How does that proctoring system deal with this situation? So Paul, I think the motion detection actually and the retina is actually working as well in this system that detects those things, and it keeps letting you know, and then automatically you need to checking different kind of images that is coming to you. Sitting at the back end, you can see that students is not continuously seeing on the screen. He is continuously seeing at the left or the back. But however, there are a lot of guidelines have been given. Institutions are giving the guidelines to the students while conducting the examination, that where they should sit while giving the examination. They should be sitting at the corner of the room. There should be back the wall, it should be so that these kind of things should not be happen to how to avoid. Because if you are having a concept to run a 360-degree camera, obviously you can utilize, but ultimately that is a costly exercise. So right now all the cameras are like front facing only, then to capture human intervention actually. So motion detection and through retina system is capturing a lot of information and throwing to the proctoring. Proctor can easily see and accordingly give the alert accordingly. I think Richard is asking, the challenge of infrastructure has been noted in several developing countries. How have you managed to ensure efficiency in online exam in your case, despite the infrastructure related limitations? I think Dr. John, if you could answer this question, it would be really, a question came from Richard. Dr. John? Yes, Dr. John.
Thank you, Pramil. I think the issue of infrastructure is critical, and it is now important for various governments across the world to work on the issue about infrastructure. But the advice for those doing exams is to request their students to relocate to a place where the infrastructure is better. I think in Kenya, our infrastructure is better developed, but in some areas it is not developed. Let's say in urban areas, the infrastructure is well developed. So advise your students to relocate to areas where infrastructure is better developed. Thank you, Pramit.
Thank you. I think there's another question came from Mr. Igodi. If a student need health break during exam and any other interruption, how it will be handled? So how Dr. John, you are seeing this kind of situation that is coming actually while giving the examination?
Thank you, Pramil. This is one of the issues which I think I mentioned in my presentation.
Yeah.
The call of nature we cannot stop. Anything can happen during exams. Right. So it is now about looking at the internal policies of the various institutions. What does it say about going out to washrooms? In the normal face-to-face, it is easy because an invigilator can escort a student to, and then of course, can be monitored. But now in face-to-face, if somebody goes out, how do you ensure that the person does not go and look at an unauthorized materials? Right. So that is why I was proposing maybe the issue about not exposing all the questions can come in, so that if a student is to go out, that student will not have seen the upcoming questions. That could be a temporary solution for now. Thank you.
Absolutely. So there's a question coming from Daniel. Are students allowed to use mobile phones? If not, how is this restricted? I think, Daniel, I can quickly answer this. Students are not allowed to use mobile phones. If they are using, I think, obviously it's not allowed, but obviously if they are using mobile phones, you can't stop them. If I'm having the mobile phone in my hand and I'm continuously seeing here, so my system continuously seeing that my retina is not coming. So in that case, system can give you the alert, and then you can take on the different images that is coming, you can take what action you need to be taken accordingly. So that kind of alerts keep coming and you can accordingly take the action. Gladys is asking, will it be possible for the browsers to detect this? I think browsers are, I'm not sure if you're targeting if people are opening any other system within the examination. Obviously, during the examination, there's already a lockdown browser enabled. So the user cannot open any other information or any other application while giving the examination. There's a question coming. Eric is asking, does the system allow students to do tasks such as doing mathematical calculations? So Sarah, how this kind of problem you have resolved while conducting this kind of examination?
We worked with the team from the get-go to allow scientific notations and calculations. As far as I know, you can answer the technical part a bit more than I can, but I know that we did an integration with like some sort of formula, like a mathematical equation calculator that was available on there. And we were able to get the characters there, so it wasn't an issue. And for students to show their work, one of the options for the questions that you can choose is that you can choose to have a free answer. So in that text box, students can actually list down their steps. So this is how we got around it, and it was actually quite successful. There's also a function for students to upload images. And so if, that's also another solution. We didn't do that. We didn't resort to that because we already had the built-in function. But that's also another option that I've seen other people use, is that for students to work, and I've seen this being used at K to 12 level. Students would show the steps on paper and snap a picture and upload it into the exam.
Right. Absolutely. So yeah, so that is one of the facility in the online examination tool has been given as well, that can be used. Does examination time count during a power disruption? I think obviously the power disruption happened, the time is keep going on. And I think Llewellyn talked about this point, and Dr. John, you wanted to answer this point.
Let me contribute to our experience as far as the drawings and also as far as quantitative is concerned. We, at the moment, we are using the option of scanning and uploading. There is that feature within the mElimu examination software whereby students are able to write by hand, draw their graphs, and then after that, they are able to scan and upload. So that is the approach we are using at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. And I think there's another question came from Daniel. Does examination time count during a power disruption? Obviously, examination time keep going on. Power disruption happened. Students is out. If he's coming back after 30 minutes, he need to request to the examination controller. Examination controller has the option to go back and see if student was logged in since last 30 minutes, if he's right or not, if he's saying to you a fact or not. And on that basis, you can extend the duration of the for that specific student or that group of students. I think Eric is asking another question. Some examinations are practical in nature, such as for animal sciences courses. How can the mElimu support such examination? I think, Sarah, you have conducted some practical examinations. How you have conducted those? Is it something related? Yeah.
For the practical examinations, this is something that we worked on after the exam season, but we're using it for the admissions exams. We've already applied it with the applied arts and engineering because they have to do a lot of drawings. So again, upload was an option, and we had a lot of drawing tools embedded in it. We haven't tried it with the scientific schools, like with for the School of Pharmacy and so on. We're still working on solutions for that. But for the for practical exams for engineering, this is what we did.
Thank you. Another question coming from Immaculate: how to do ensure AI is achieved? Do you have examination centers with all the hardware in place to achieve this? I think examination center do not need any kind of thing. AI is inbuilt within the software. Actually, the camera is just job is to take the photo, and AI job is to proctor them and giving you an alert. So actually, if you'll see from the system, the backend, there is no proctor. There is no human proctor is required. The proctoring is happening by the AI. So AI is capturing depending upon what motion is detected, what multiple faces is showing, and taking the decisions and quickly taking the photos and giving it to you in the different colors, letting you know this is the red alert, this is the yellow, this is the green. So this way the system get handled, and you and the proctoring examination controller get notified. Eric, you have asked another question. Is the AI camera able to see cheating materials behind the student laptop? Obviously not. Some of the institutions we were conducting, they have asked to keep rotating their camera in time to time to make sure the background check. It is your choices if you wanted or give an alert to the student to do the background check. Wherever you are feeling or getting an alert from the system, you can ask your student while chat to get the background check. So they can move their camera left and right. So these institutions, so some of the things even I am learning from the institutions, how students are trying to cheat and how the systems being utilized. So some of the things are more coming up from the guidelines or the alerts that is the support team and the proctoring examination controller are taking care or giving those how to ensure the cheat proof examination. Uh, I think there's another question coming from Paul. The challenge is taking the face-to-face culture, teacher-centered culture to student-centered learning and assessment environments, online learning environments. Paul, I think Llewellyn, are you with us?
Yes, Pramal.
So, okay, so there's a question, Paul. Llewellyn, there's a question came from Paul. Taking the face-to-face culture, teacher-centered culture to student-centered learning and assessment environments, online learning environment. So I think there's another point he said, quirks in online learning are the ones that make online learning look inferior. However, well pedagogically designed online learning presents better learning experience than face-to-face classroom learning. So what you like to say about this?
I'm just going through the notes quickly to see, but reflecting back, I think also online examination, and I think there was a key word that you used, looking at it inferior. I think that is something to emphasize. So it was more a statement than actually a question. I think with South Africa, or let's say localized within the education, we find challenges in people adopting new things. The reality of online examination exists worldwide. Research papers has been written about it. There are even student feedbacks, but we will still find in South Africa, we use a specific word called red tape, which speaks about a delayed process. And I think that is what we're facing if we would pursue this online examination in institutions. Now, for those that are tuned in, it becomes extremely important how this now gets communicated to those that are influential within an organization. Right. And speaking of influence in that regard, it's how it gets communicated and how people see the need. Personally, I have seen that COVID-19 has changed red tape into a red carpet. All of a sudden, on the flip side of a coin, people jumped it to and opted for online learning, where we have taken a few months to that extent, explaining to them, and we saw how COVID-19 flipped a coin. And I think we need that flipped coin pressure that we need to place and see the seriousness of it up until they have to accept it and actually push forward to see the reality. And I think in South Africa, I would say many times we are forced to run social impactful projects in that regard, to let people write the exams, share the knowledge, have a written report, and then from the written report, it becomes a sort of cornerstone of discussion to take forward. And that is just a South African strategy I would eventually deploy in that regard.
Thank you. Thank you. There's another question came from Orlando, is actually goes to Dr. Akorfa. Could you explain briefly how you handle quantitative examinations like mathematics and econometrics, where a lot of weight is given to the methods rather than the final answers?
Okay, Pramil, I think that has been answered already. So it's basically the tools that have been provided for scan, document, and handwork. I know mElimu software has all those facilities, so I think it's been answered, unless of course the person will need some more answers.
Right. So I will just repeat it. The facility has been given so that students can write in a bit of paper all the process. They can take the photo and attach to the answer. That facility is there. I think very quickly question came from Anonymous. Actually, how did you manage clinical examination? I think so far, how you wanted to conduct the examination, if it's not a written question, obviously a written type of objective questions, it cannot be happen. If it's in that case, obviously, whatever he is doing in the clinical as a process, obviously you can ask those process to be written. It depends, or you might have asked, because we have given the facility that student can submit the video answer as well. So you can make sure that the student can open the video, and whatever he is doing, he can do those activity in front of it, and he can attach that video as a direct submission while that answers. So that facility is already within the system. I think there are a lot of questions still pending, but we are running out of time. Just all of our speakers as well, these questions are going to be our conference portal, that is educationconference.melimu.com, and there are a lot of participants who are joining that as well after this session, and they wanted to answer all these questions that is coming from them. So there's a discussion forum as well. So I request our participants as well to connect your speakers on educationconference.melimu.com, and you will be getting the ID and password so that you can log into the system. You can see your speakers, and you can connect and discuss all your questions one by one. All these questions will be answered by the speakers. We'll make sure that all your questions should be responded by the speakers, and all the answers or responses should be emailed to each and every people with this recording session. The recording session is also available within the same portal. So thanks all our speakers for joining today's conference, and the participants for today joining again. Thanks all of you. I'm finishing this because we are running time. Thanks all of you again for making this conference successful. Thanks. Bye-bye all of you. Take care.